Okay, Ishan Prabhu, we can begin now. You can introduce the topic and then we'll get going.
Okay, I won't be using instruments because the mic that allows me to do that is on the other machine and that I couldn't connect with you. So I'll just say the prayers in it and try to be sincere. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Sri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahabhadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gora Tashe Namaha Namo Brahmanaya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitayacha Jagaditai Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Today we're going to deal with this subject that Vaishnavism, that Krishna consciousness or Vaishnavism is a science. What does this mean? You can change your religion. A Christian can become a Jew. A Jew can become a Muslim. A Muslim can become a Hindu. You can change your religion because it is just certain, it's a faith, and you can change your faith from one thing to another. But you cannot change the science of spiritual life. No matter whether you're a Hindu, Christian, Muslim, or Jew, the science of God is the same. Whether you call God Allah or Jehovah or Krishna, it all refers to the cause of all causes. Sarva Karana Karanam. Ishwara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Ishwara Parama, the supreme controller. Ishwara Parama Krishna and his form. God has form. I was looking online. The Jews, the Jews and the Catholics and the Muslims, they all believe that God has no form. God is just some kind of spirit, but he has no form. They say that very clearly. But we say that God has form, that his vigraha, it means form, and his form is eternal, sat, and is full of knowledge, chit, and his form is full of bliss, ananda. And this is valid. This is science. This is so they're saying God has no form because they can't imagine. Why they can't imagine? We say that everything that comes into this material world comes from the source. If we all do our shopping at Walmart, and there's apples in my fridge. Common sense. There's apples at Walmart. There's form in the material world, and everything in the material world comes from God, from the spiritual world. And there's form in this world. There's form in the absolute. Otherwise, how we can have form? But they have no science. They have no ability to think. Actually, if you check, they accept everything that they have different meetings in the different religions, the priests or the pope or what have you, and they make and the philosophers, and they say you cannot take the Bible literally. When it says that God sits on the throne, they say this doesn't mean that God sits on the throne, because there is no throne and there is no form of God to sit on that throne. They say this. You can Google what is the conception of God online and say, does God sit on a throne according to Catholicism? No, according to Catholicism, God has no form. According to Judaism, God has no form. According to Christianity, according to everything. So they have no knowledge of God, but we have knowledge of God. Vaishnavism, the other religions of this world, just like when I was a child, when the child, before he begins grade 1 in elementary school, they have kindergarten. In kindergarten, they give you some blocks to play with and things of that nature. And then you go to elementary school, and then you go to high school, and then you go to university, undergraduate, and then you have postgraduate. The religions of this world are kindergarten, and Vaishnavism is postgraduate. Why? Because it's a science and we have all this knowledge. They don't even know about the laws of karma. They say it doesn't work that way. There is no karma. They don't know. They're trying to solve, the scientists, they're trying to control nature, that how we can make it rain. They're doing that. They're putting chemicals in the air. We can see them. It's called a jet stream or something. So they, but they don't know why is there earthquake? Why is there flood? Why is there drought? Why is there famine? Why is there forest fire? And why is there war? This is karma, because people are breaking the laws of nature. Therefore, all of these terrible things are coming to the people on the planet. It's feedback. It's a wake-up call. You're not doing things right. You're doing everything wrong. Therefore, you're going to suffer. Therefore, you're going to have earthquakes, volcanoes. You're going to have tidal waves. You're going to have forest fires. You're going to have all of these plagues. You're going to have COVID. Everything. And so, because you're breaking, so we say no illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, and no gambling. And these are the material world. Everybody's having as much sex as they like. Now they think they're free. It's true. And they're advertising everywhere, and it's all over the computer. Then no, intoxication. Everybody's intoxicated, whether it's alcohol or drugs or psychedelics, the smoking, drinking. This is taking time, and they're all millions, millions. Every day they're killing all over the world millions of animals. And they don't know. They think it's very good. And the industries, they are multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar industries. And they have a grip on the people in the government. because the people in the government, every country is simply a business. And the people who run the country, they run the business for their profit. And then just like if we're paying tax, we're paying, you're getting tax, everything that's sold in the marketplace, there's a tax, goes to the government. Anyone who owns a house, he's got to pay tax, real estate, land tax. A person, then if you have an inheritance, there's an inheritance tax. If you have a job, there's a there's a job tax. There's a tax for everything. It all goes to the government. And what do they do with the money? Do they give free education? Do they give free hospital if you need a doctor? No, they use the tax to have a country like United States has literally hundreds of military outposts all over the world with people there who need to eat, who need clothes, who need medical, who need uniforms, who need guns, who need bombs, and they're all being supported by our tax. Now, why do they have these places? Because the country is a business and they have interests in different places all over the world, how they can exploit these other countries, the third world countries, how they can exploit. They take they have a revolution, they kill the leaders, and then they put in a leader who will cooperate with them. And the leader said, we give you $1 million or something, and you give us the rights to have mines, to have oil wells in your country, and we no controls. We leave toxic waste everywhere. The people are getting cancer, and the people in that country, they get no benefit from this. But the United States, they have all these holdings everywhere, and if there's a revolution from the local people, then they use their military forces to suppress, because they're in business. The country, the government is supposed to be that for the person who runs the government or the king. Actually, this democracy, Srila Prabhupada calls it demon crazy. Democracy. That they're giving the people the feeling that they have some control, but they have no control. It doesn't matter who becomes the president or the prime minister because they utilize everything. All the big businesses control the government. The government and the people in government get money from the people who have the big businesses. The people who are in the government are puppets. They're front stage, and behind the people backstage, we never see them. They're controlling everything, and they're running the country like a business. And that's all it is. And they don't care about anybody. So then okay, so there's karma. So they tell you, they control the education. These businesses control the universities. They teach the doctors that where the university gets grants from the big companies that run the pharmaceutical industry and that run the meat industry, and they tell them, you don't tell the doctors that meat is going to give you cancer. And you don't tell doctors, teach doctors, medical students these things. You don't teach medical students that if person lives a healthy life and eats properly, America has more heart attacks than any country in the whole world. And it's all diet. But they are telling you if you go to school that you need to eat meat because they're selling meat. So this is, so this, because they're all, so according to the law of karma, 7 or 8 people, they all share the karma. The person who grows the animal, the person who transports the animal to the slaughterhouse, person who kills the animal, the person who buys the meat, the person who sells the meat, the person who cooks the meat, the person who eats the meat. They all get the karma. Therefore, you have COVID. Therefore, you have forest fire. Therefore, you have uh, volcanoes. Therefore, etc. All of the tsunami, earthquakes. This is karma. They have no religion talks about karma. They don't know the laws of nature. You take physics in school. For every action, there's a reaction. The same applies in spiritual life. so this is part of our science of Krishna consciousness. Yeah, we're not trying to be good boys and girls that our spiritual master, that Srila Prabhupada, has given us some things to follow. It's for our own good. Not only that there shouldn't be all of these disturbances in there, but people who eat meat, one of the reactions of mass karma is world war. One of the reactions of having a slaughterhouse civilization global is wars. And they're talking about peace while they're eating steak. They're talking about peace while everyone wants peace. And the Buddhists want peace, and their teachers are eating meat. They're preaching nonviolence, and they're operating slaughterhouse. But because they have no conception of the science, it's just a sentiment in these religions. They don't, unless one becomes to the mode of goodness, there's no capacity even to understand spiritual science. There's no capacity even to open the heart enough to feel a sense of connection with a pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada is Krishna's representative. He's coming from the spiritual world. He's Nitya Siddha. All of the acharyas, they are coming from the spiritual world. It's in our books. They're called Nitya Siddha. 2 kinds of souls, Nitya Siddha and Nitya Bada. We are Nitya Bada, eternally conditioned, and they are eternally liberated. But they come here as Krishna's representatives simply to teach. To teach what? They're teaching love of God, because love of God is the only ticket for entering the spiritual world. But they don't know this in other religions. They're thinking that by being a good boy or a good girl, a good person, they can't be good people because they're eating meat and they're taking intoxication and they're gambling and they're having illicit sex and they're thinking that they're good people. But as long as these... So one of the laws of the material nature is that if we break these restrictions, the ability to have a living relationship with Krishna or Krishna's representative. It's impossible. The reason for observing these principles is that the intelligence, the body, the mind, the heart becomes refined enough to sense what is always present. Srila Prabhupada is the external manifestation of Krishna within the heart, the all-pervasive supersoul. He's omnipresent. To be able to sense his presence, the heart has to be clean, refined enough that one can sense his presence. People who are breaking the principles, not possible. This is a science. It's not a sentiment that we're Hare Krishna people, that we're being trained to become Vaishnavas. It's not a sentiment. It's a science. So therefore, we're taking all of these understandings and applying them because it's a science. Just like in the ISKCON Society, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, impossible. They don't even know the science, the basic science, that the only way, there's no other way to develop love, to reawaken our dormant love of Krishna. Love of Krishna is in all of our hearts. It's not something that becomes added to us. It's not something that was given to us as a benediction if we are a good boy or a good girl. Love of Krishna is dormant in the heart of the conditioned soul. That dormant love of Krishna can be reawakened when one has a living relationship with a pure devotee. In his association, we can feel his love of Krishna. Then, by keeping in communion or in ongoing relationship with him, our heart becomes influenced by his heart. And that is the only way to reawaken one's dormant love of God. It's in the first chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, for chapter 1, verse 47 purport. There's two kinds of spiritual masters, and the one who is always absorbed in a sense of living relationship with Krishna, and his heart is filled with love by being in that association, by feeling his presence, then we learn what love feels like. That's called anuga, following the heartfelt feelings of devotion of someone who has, that is, therefore they say Prabhupada Anuga, but they don't even know what it means. They say Prabhupada Anuga, but they're not even aware of the science. They think that he lives forever by his divine instruction and the follower lives with him. These are his instructions. They think that rise early, Mongol Arctic, Tulsi Puja, chant 16 rounds, attend Bhagavatam class, eat prasadam, keep 4 regulative principles, and distribute books. They're following these rules, but the essential aspect of Krishna consciousness, they know nothing about it. They never talk about it. One has to have an intimate relationship with a pure devotee, and that is this is how Lord Chaitanya taught. He said, I will teach Krishna consciousness by practicing it myself. He shared when people would see Lord Chaitanya dancing in ecstasy, their hearts, they would imbibe the taste. It's written in our book, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.25. Read the purport. Pure devotion is infectious. Srila Prabhupada's words. Just like an infectious disease. You associate with someone who has COVID, you get COVID. You associate with someone who has feelings of love in their heart, you get love in your heart if you're submissive enough to imbibe. So he said, what does that infection mean? It's written in the book. Infection of the qualities of the pure devotee means to imbibe the taste of devotion in his association. There's no other way. Yes, we have to practice our chanting. We have to do our Tulsi Puja. We have to do our deity worship. But how? Under the guidance, in the association of a pure devotee. It's the Srila Prabhupada said, an apprenticeship program. There's two kinds of programs. You can learn something you go to the university and you learn something, how to be a doctor. And there's so many books and you memorize so much. But then if he wants to be a surgeon, if he wants to do operations and cut open people's body, then then he has to become an apprentice. It's called an intern. He works in the hospital under someone who can do that, and he gets the taste. It's an apprenticeship program. Hey, you want to become an electrician or a bricklayer, an electrician, they go to university today to become an electrician, but then they work under an electrician. He becomes a journeyman. That he is getting living experience working under the guidance of someone who can show him how to touch that wire. So in the same, this is science. It's not that by having a good track record or a good report card or a good checklist that one is going to go to the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada says that when we leave our body, if we have one tiny pinch of material desire, we have to come back to the material world, then we get a chance to pursue that desire. Just the tiniest bit. In other words, we have to be completely pure devotee. Prema bhakti. That means ecstatic love of Krishna. So where is it? So we say, from him, prema bhakti yaha hoite avidya vinashayate. From him this love emanates. Like heat and light emanate from the sunshine. So then, if you turn your back on if you close the door, so you have to expose yourself to that, catch that emanation, then. So this is the process. It's a science. Nobody knows. Therefore, fools like what they have in ISKCON, they have all these conditioned souls taking the role of guru, following these people, washing their feet with milk and yogurt and honey and drinking. You can do that for 1,000,000 years. How can they share with you love of Krishna? They don't know what love of Krishna is. They don't know what a pure devotee is. They don't know who Srila Prabhupada is, or they wouldn't dare to take that position. They wouldn't dare to try and take that position of guru. It's a scam. It's a fraud. They can't share. They can't give their students something that they don't have. Krishna consciousness is a science. It's not a sentiment. Now it has become like all the other religions people are following. Oh, who's your guru? Who's your guru? What is this nonsense? Following the Srila Prabhupada writes, Nectar of Devotion, quote, a conditioned soul cannot liberate another conditioned soul. Anyone who reads our books, they can understand these things. These people are totally sentiment. And the so-called Prabhupada-nugas, they're simply in the same boat. I have not met one Prabhupada-nuga who is talking about having a living relationship with Srila Prabhupada. They think that by following his instruction, but they don't know. This is also Srila Prabhupada's instruction. Why are you not following this? So this idea of how one becomes a real devotee, that's part of the science. But they don't know that science. Why we're without coming to the mode of goodness to engage in that living relationship, spiritual transcendental relationship with a pure devotee. That's a science. That our first step, purify, become to the mode of goodness. Srila Prabhupada writes again and again, without coming to the mode of goodness, not possible. Not possible. Then, then we have, there are different stages in Krishna consciousness. There's the neophyte platform, and then Nartha Nivritti, then you come to the stage Nishta, that when we become steady, Asakti, and then on and on and on up to the topmost. And at every stage, there are symptoms. And those symptoms are described. So we know at what stage we're on. Do we still have material desire? We haven't hardly begun. But we're thinking, I'm a devotee, and these are these karmis, and you think we're very different. We have to read these books to understand the process. And then we measure our own advancement, and we'll understand. Yeah. So we have regulative principles to bring us to a platform where we can begin. We understand the workings of the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, ignorance, and the necessity for keeping us in the mode of goodness. We have to understand our relationship with a pure devotee. And that's what did they say? Aha, Prabhu Koradoya, Deho More, O Master, be merciful unto me. Please let me feel your presence in my heart. Please, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Rupa Raghunatha Pade, praying at the lotus feet of Rupa and Raghunath, always desiring their mercy. Are we praying to Srila Prabhupada, always desiring his mercy? Please let me feel your presence. Are we praying to Srila Prabhupada, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, I offer you all worship and respect so that I can come to understand your feelings of love of God. Then I'll be able to chant the Hare Krishna mantra with feelings of devotion. It's written in our songbook. In the Gurudev prayer, are we praying to him? Or are we thinking, no, I have this list, and I've done this today, and I've done this today, and I've done this today, and then one day I'll be benedicted with something. There's some feeling of Krishna consciousness. It's ridiculous. The people in Prabhupada Nugas they may as well have one of those foolish rascals in ISKCON for their guru. They're teaching the same regulative principle. Don't eat meat. Don't do this. Don't. But those are all just preliminary qualifications. Just like you go to school, if you want to become a doctor, you have to take 4 years first. Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, the prerequisite. If you want to become a lawyer, you have to take first basic education like that, same Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science. So if we want to be then if we want to become a devotee, then we have to come to the mode of goodness, and then we have to do these basic practices. It's a science. They say idol worship, other religions. Take the yoga systems. The Vedic literature teaches the whole subtle body, the different chakras in there, the different energies that flow in the body, the pranic energies, and how the great yogis in different ages were doing that. No one has any idea. And then then they say we're doing idol worship. They don't. They think, oh, that we're worshiping idols. That Krishna, this is Krishna's energy. This material energy is Krishna's energy. Srila Prabhupada says, if you think that relate to the deity on the altar as a piece of stone, he will remain a piece of stone forever. And if we relate to the deity on the altar as Krishna, that deity can talk to you. So it's a question of our own sincerity. It's a question of how much we've accepted. It's not that by doing every day, putting a stick of incense or putting a plate on the altar with some cooked foodstuffs, that one day we'll understand that Krishna is there. It's when we act and relate to him that he is there. As much as we relate to him that he is there, that's how much he'll show himself to us. It's a science. We have yoga systems. We have how to relate to, and we do that. How do we? Srila Prabhupada said, don't think that you have to do this deity worship. He said, I am doing the deity worship. Srila Prabhupada says, and you are my assistant. Srila Prabhupada has brought the deity here into this world, onto this planet, and including the deity in our own homes. By Srila Prabhupada, under Srila Prabhupada, by with Srila Prabhupada's blessing, we have the right to worship Lord Chaitanya Nityananda, Krishna, Radha and Krishna. We have murtis of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said, when we were worshiping the deity, we're worshiping under his direction. What does it mean? It means that we have such an intimate feeling of connection with Srila Prabhupada that we can feel his mood, how he relates to the deity. And we can do our puja with that feeling in our heart. That means working. That means practicing Krishna consciousness under the guidance, in the association of Krishna's pure devotee. Is this something new? We've been hearing it for our whole time in Krishna, to do under the guidance and to associate, to practice Krishna consciousness in the association of a pure devotee. Is basic knowledge. We have to apply. Science means there's a procedure, a philosophy, a procedure, and then a conclusion. That therefore, Srila Prabhupada said in 434 of Bhagavad Gita, that blind following is condemned. How do you know it's real? We only know it's real when we apply it. And how much we apply it, that's how much we get realization. Krishna consciousness explains the structure of the universe. Krishna consciousness explains how the universe comes into creation, not once, but millions of times. With every breath of the Mahavishnu, he breathes in, the universe disappears. He breathes out, the universe is manifest. Trillions of universes. This is the different demigods, how they're arranging everything within the material creation. This is science. How then the spiritual world. It says the other religions, the so-called religions, they say that nothing is happening in the spiritual world because no one has any form in the spiritual world. Imagine. That when they say that when in the Bible, that God sits on the throne and Jesus sits beside him, it's figurative language. They say you can't take it literally because God has no form. But no, God has form. The whole spiritual world is there, and they have. And what is the sociology? We have in the university sociology department, social science, social psychology. Our books talk all about the social psychology of the spiritual world. There are 4 ways in which the pure devotees, some of them are in relationship as servant with God. Some of them are in relationship and friendship, and how they're playing together. Some of them are in relationship that have a parental feeling towards Krishna. Some of them are in relationship in conjugal love. This is the sociology of they have no idea. Absolutely no idea. But Krishna conscious Vaishnavism is a science. Science. So then we have to, scientific method means you test the hypothesis, you go into the laboratory. When we live in a house and that house is for our developing our Krishna consciousness, that is our laboratory for testing these hypotheses and see if we don't get some result. Otherwise, we're a blind follower. Srila Prabhupada says blind following is condemned. I'm looking online. I go to this krishnabooks.com, and you can put in a phrase and it brings up all the places where Srila Prabhupada has given a talk or written something about a certain subject. I put in one moon. There's a 20, 30 places where Srila Prabhupada says, I just want one moon. One person who becomes a real devotee. But no, it's become another religion that now we're members. We're members. People have associations, membership. You're a member of this or a member of that. Membership is not the key to Krishna Loka. Association is good. But it's not by becoming a member that then you make friends. People become members of this church or that church. It's good for business. They can sell insurance policies to the other members. They can do so much. So let's see. They think idol worship is not idol worship. It's instructed by the Vedic literature, and it can be realized that the deity can talk. Then we have the regulative principles, and it's part of the science of raising ourselves through the modes of material nature. You have the various stages of Krishna consciousness, which are identified by their different systems. We have the symptoms of love of God, and we have the process by which develops love of God, which was written in our book by the words subjective instruction. It means, subjective means how you feel. Subjective instruction means learning to feel by being in the association with one who has that feeling of love of God, that learning to live in that context of life, learning to live in association with Srila Prabhupada. Then we can have subjective instruction that's part of the science. The sociology of the spiritual world is a science. So this Krishna consciousness should not become another religion that, oh, he's a Hindu and he's a Jew and he's a Christian and they go once a week and to the temple or to the or to whatever the church, and they're members, and that's good enough for them. They're happy. They don't need anything more. They feel that now I'm a member, and I have a a new name, and everything's good. So we have to. It's a question. So what I'm talking about, it's not for everybody. If you're happy, content that now you're a Hare Krishna, good. Go on like that. Maybe in 100 or 1,000 lifetimes, you'll become serious. Serious enough to want to understand the science, and serious enough to begin to see if it's real by testing it, by living it, by seeing if you're getting some sense of reciprocation with the Absolute. So that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Why am I talking? Because I'm trying also to am I on some high platform? No, I'm a neophyte devotee. But I'm trying to understand the process. Now I'm 81 years old. I'm going to be not here in a few years. People die every day. So of course I'm coming back because I haven't got pure love of God yet. I have material desires in my heart. So I'm interested. How can I advance? How can I grow? So I'm talking about it. I'm talking about the things that I have to do, that I have to practice. If you don't want to do them, that's none of my business. That's all right. But I'm talking about for someone who knows they're going to die at any moment. I was just online with some follower of Trump, a young man, maybe in his 30s. Somebody shot him. I forget his name. It's not important. People die every moment. Healthy people, healthy people, sick people, young people, old people, babies. Where this life is just a flash of lightning and it's over. We're all going to die. So where are we going to be in our next life? We don't know. So if we are the souls who have, why are we born in the material world? No religion explains why. No religion explains why we're born in the material world. Because we decided because we're envious of Krishna. Because we want to be Krishna. Because we want to be enjoy independent of pleasing Krishna. We're the rebels. We're the fallen angels, so to speak. We're the prodigal son. So that's why we're born here in the in the material world. We're not this body. The Christians, the Catholics believe that that Jesus is coming back and he's going to take them all out of their grave and they're going to walk around in the bodies that they're buried in. Never mind that the body is already decomposing, filled with worms, and is going to turn back into earth. But they're thinking that they're going to be, Jesus is going to come, and they're all going to get up and they're going to sing and dance out of their graves and be happily ever after. What nonsense! What nonsense! So Krishna Vaishnavism is not this kind of sentimental nonsense. But so Srila Prabhupada writes, number one, the teacher has to be bona fide. Srila Prabhupada has empowered to teach love of God by sharing with us what is the taste of love of God, and we should imbibe that taste and use that in our cultivation, do all our activities with that taste. Everything becomes devotional service. And two, the student should be bona fide. He writes that in chapter 12, Nectar of Devotion. The, the teacher must be bona fide and the student must be bona fide. So let us become bona fide students. Hare Krishna. End of talk.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you mentioned this incident with this Christian preacher or whatever you want to call him.
Yeah,
Someone, someone just shot him
right.
because of his beliefs. So this is the world we're living in, as you can see. In Vaishnavism, there's debates and there's discussion.
Yeah.
There's no question of violence, during Chaitanya. But now we see the Kali Yuga has progressed so much that I mean, that happened in the Krishna consciousness movement as well. Sulochan got terminated.
Yeah, because one of these bogus gurus, Kirtanananda, Sulochan wrote a book explaining all his twisted, warped ways of teaching what is Krishna consciousness, and the other gurus as well. So they decided to kill him.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that such things are going on. Prabhupada was totally against this sort of, animalism. This, so Prabhupada makes various statements regarding civilization now and just how it was during his time. So we can see there's a huge degradation from his time and now. So this
Yeah,
Krishna, I mean, we can see that.
yeah, it's just Srila Prabhupada was trying to get some of his godbrothers to come and help to train us because the Western people, they're so much distant from Vedic culture, cleanliness, and things of that nature. Sattva gun, we're so much in passion and ignorance. But none of them would come. Some of them wrote that Srila Prabhupada ruined Vaishnavism by sharing it with the people of the West. They, but Lord Chaitanya said every town and village this chanting will go. So Srila Prabhupada was Lord Chaitanya's chosen associate representative. Yeah.
Yeah, Jonas Priya Prabhu, you have any comments? You
Yeah, I was gonna say that
listening? Yes.
I was in LA when they premiered the new Vrindavan movie, and Kirtan Ananda was there sitting next to Srila Prabhupada, and they were looking at each other with so much love. And at the end of the presentation, Prabhupada said to Kirtan Ananda, he says, "You are going back home this lifetime." And then he talked a little more, and then he said, "Everybody in here is going back in this lifetime." And
Okay.
there's another instance where Prabhupada said you have to be at least 90% Krishna conscious. And everybody said, "Oh, that's too much, Prabhupada." And Prabhupada said, 80%. I said, "Oh, Prabhupada, that's still too hard." So it got down to 60%. So, so how do we understand these things?
That Srila Prabhupada, he wanted to encourage, encourage, encourage. He wanted so much to encourage us. So, like children, because we're like little children spiritually. Uh, so, he would say things that would give us enthusiasm. But for so at the same time, so so you could say to the little child, "Oh, you just chant 16 rounds every day, and you're going back to Godhead." But to his more mature son, who's already grown up, also the same. Srila Prabhupada is saying, if you have the slightest pinch of material desire, when you leave your body, you're coming back to this material world. So you talk to different people differently. But he's trying to encourage everybody, giving them instruction that they're capable of responding to. Kirtanananda is the greatest defender, greatest defender. Read in Sulochan's book how every chance he got, he did something against Srila Prabhupada. I wouldn't want to be in Kirtanananda's shoes when I leave my body. That's for sure. Terrible man. Terrible man. He was envious of Srila Prabhupada, wanted to be guru. He did not to recognize and guide people to Srila Prabhupada. No, he wants to be worshipped. What can you say about a person like that? Would you, Prabhu, want to start taking disciples? Do you think
I
that
got, I got disciples. I got two disciples, two cats.
you're right?
Excellent. Two cats.
One is a Mayavadi and the other one is a Buddhist.
That's very good. Thank you for lightening things up. No, how can one of us, we're all babies, we don't know, we've never even seen Krishna, Kirtanananda. He never even seen Krishna. How can he teach people about Krishna? But he's accepting and that students, all of them.
But
All,
Prabhupada wanted us all to be gurus, not Shiksha.
yeah, that's
Diksha gurus, not Diksha gurus.
yeah. If you tell somebody, just like yeah, if you tell your friend or you tell the cashier at the store, you give them a book or a card that says Hare Krishna, you're guru, but not, but we can't take them back home, back to Godhead with us, because we don't go there yet. We're not there yet.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of like, I if Prabhupada said whatever Prabhupada said, I believe. If
Yeah,
that somebody is going back home this lifetime, uh, I take it as he said it, as it is, because
I,
he has the power to do that.
yeah, that's
One
fine.
who renders the tiniest service to a pure devotee from his heart, just one time, is enough to be saved.
Okay. Uh, Everything that is in our books and everything Srila Prabhupada says is perfect. But I know in my heart that Srila Prabhupada has different instruction for different people. For one person, you should do this, and for another person, you should not do this. Same thing. For one person, he says you should not, in the books, You should not read any of the books of the previous acharyas. There are letters like that. And in our books, it says we should take an interest and be very much want to read the uh, the books of the previous acharyas. So there's different instruction for different people. And I believe that Srila Prabhupada just wants to encourage everybody, and he will talk to everybody and how he thinks they're capable to hear. And but it's not whatever you believe is positive. Whatever your faith is good. It's not my place to try to change your mind in any way. Follow your heart uh, and try to follow Srila Prabhupada with your heart as much as you understand and as much as you have desire. And it's none of my business to tell you different.
All right. Hare Krishna.
All
So
right.
thank you very much, Ishan Prabhu, for the discussion material that you've given us. Very, very
You
dynamic.
were surefire up today. Never seen you like that, like today.
uh, I'm going to die soon, so I don't know. I don't know. Little by little, I'm becoming more convinced. Uh, this giving the class has been very good for me because I've been forced to do research and read a lot and organize the material. And the more I talk about these things, the more convinced I'm becoming. So if anything uh, comes, if we can derive anything positive from that, it means that the more we preach, the more we become excited about the subject matter. Seems to be
Right.
working. It's good for me. Part of the medicine for me. For my disease condition. as a conditioned soul.
This point about Vaishnavism being a science and not a religion, I've tried to look up this simultaneously one and difference in other scriptures. It's no longer, it's nowhere to be found. Achintya Veda, Veda Tattva of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the previous acharyas is in no religion. It's like not possible to be found.
That's
God
why
gave it directly.
that's why they think that God has no form.
Hmm.
That's because they can't understand that he can be simultaneously sitting on a throne and be all pervasive. And even the material energy, and in between every atom and in every atom in the universe, while at the same time having his pastimes.
Right. So this is the beauty of Vaishnavism. It's perfectly presented by the predecessor acharyas, Srila Prabhupada specifically in our case. So we're very fortunate to Srila Prabhupada and writing his wonderful books.
Lord Chaitanya is God himself, and he was giving teaching to Rupa Goswami and to Sanatan Goswami and telling them to investigate all the scriptures, the Vaishnava scriptures, the Vedas, and to write books. And all of their teachings have come down to us through their disciplic succession like that, coming from Krishna himself in the form of Lord Chaitanya. And we have this, it's not accepted, except the ability to recognize Srila Prabhupada and his teachings is given by Krishna to the heart of one according to their desire to know God again. That we're here in this world because we've been placed here with that we came from the spiritual world and we've been placed here, and the according if we're suffering so much birth after birth, eating each other,
Mm.
Uh, I see that I'm living in nature. The animals are all terrified. The birds are all terrified.
Yeah. Mm.
They're all because they know their life is in danger. At every moment, they can be uh, a snake. There are rattlesnakes sometimes where I live. They catch other animals and swallow them alive.
Yeah.
It's terrible, and we're in this condition. Um, but it's all to, yeah. So we should get our act together, as they
Hare
say.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Right. Okay. Jonas Priya, anything you want to say before we end it? Or Ishan Prabhu?
Thank you so much for doing this.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Ishan Prabhu, anything?
No, Prabhu, thank you very much. I hope I haven't offended anyone.
We'll see. Your email is there, so they might send you a like. Okay, thank you very much. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare
Prabhupada,
Krishna, Prabhu.
Kalpatruyasya Kripasindu Evacha Patitanam Pavanavyo Vaishnaveyo Namo Namaha. Haribo.
Chai.